होम्योपैथिक डॉक्टर है, कहीं इतनी जल्दी रिलीफ मिल गया, तो कहीं आप स्टेरॉइड्स तो नहीं दे रहे?
Steroids are medicines which are part of allopathy. In homeopathy, there are no steroids. So, one, we do not use steroids, but yes, if some doctor is using, that's a malpractice. It is not a part of homeopathy. So, don't be scared. Most of the doctors do not do that, and we can't, because if steroids were the answer, why would you come to us? You come to us only when all of those don't work. So, we do not have any kind of steroids in homeopathy.
Okay, and what is the difference between the German medicines and the Indian वो bottle में वो क्या same होता है?
Tera Bharat Maan, Indian medicines are good. They are just collaboration. There's not some factory going on in Germany or anywhere.
Okay.
So Indian medicines are best.
Best.
I can say
Okay.
that.
I think this is a great message from this podcast. Homeopathy cures a large percentage of cases. It is safer and economical. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said. So we are super, super excited to have Dr. Neeru Arora on our show today. She's gonna debunk myths, tell us the best of the treatments that are available in homeopathy. डॉक्टर साहब आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है.
Thank you, Rashi, for calling me, and it's my honor. I would love to share all the myths and whatever common people need to know about homeopathy.
About Dr. Neeru Arora, she has 20 years plus experience, I think saved many lives with homeopathy. So, Dr. Saab, what has been your journey? Tell us all.
Yeah, so as a student of class 12, when we appear for so many competitive examination, I was also, I gave CPMT, that was the pre-medical test we all used to give, and I was short by few marks for MBBS. I wasn't interested in BDS, so eventually homeopathy came to me. And with initial this thing, I finally thought I'll study. And when I studied, when I saw that it's again that 5-6 years course, just as MBBS, and we have to study certain more subjects to specialize in homeopathy. And when we saw the treatment and the patients and the teachers, doctors, and that was the time when I realized I think it's best that I got homeopathy and not the conventional kind of medication. Ever since, I haven't looked back, and I really feel proud, to say that I am a homeopath. And I can't say that conventional method is not good, but collaboration of all the methods is the time that we need. And along with yoga, along with allopathy, along with all other supporting systems of medicine, we all can, take the healthcare system to higher levels.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. So, what are the basic misconceptions about homeopathy treatment? And also tell us the basic principles. People I think are not well informed. So,
Yeah.
let's hear.
So, homeopathy is more than 200 years old, and according to WHO, it is the second most popular system of medicine all over the world. But yes, there are a lot of myths attached because the awareness is not that much. So, one big myth attached is that it takes time. So, it does take time, but it is for the chronic cases, not for acute cases. Like somebody is having diarrhea, we can't give him 3-4 days or 10 days to treat. So acute cases need acute attention, and there are acute medication, and we can take care of the acute conditions in as less as half an hour. But yes, there are chronic cases, like suppose somebody is having rheumatoid arthritis or somebody is having some chronic skin ailment, then obviously we can't treat in a day or two. So that is one big myth. Second myth is that it is only for chronic diseases. That is also not there. It is there for acute and chronic both, and it works wonders in both. Another important myth which I feel people have, that there is no research being done, or there is not ongoing any research. So that is also not true, because most of the people must not be aware that these medicines were experimented on humans, unlike allopathy and other conventional method where they have guinea pigs and rats and all. These medicines were given to healthy human beings. and all the results were noted down. And that is why in homeopathy, when a person comes to us, we ask so many questions because we need to know the mental aspect and the emotional aspect along with the physical aspect of the problem. So it is more deep down, more researched, and more human oriented.
You've been practicing, dealt with so many chronic cases also, and there have been variety and people coming with so many, emotional outbursts to you for treatments. So I would want you to share some success stories with all our listeners so that they are aware that homeopathy is actually acceptable and it's very helpful and very healthy to have homeopathy
Yeah,
medicines. Yeah.
definitely. Like I said, it takes care of the person as a whole. So when a person comes to you, it's not that a person has a disease. We consider it as a disease state of a person. So we look into all the aspects. So we go holistically, you know. So that's why lot of questioning is done, and we figure out what kind of constitution a person has, and that helps in treating her emotional as well as whatever manifestation he or she is having. In chronic cases, these matter a lot. In acute cases, sometimes all this doesn't matter. And whenever a person come to us, we have to figure out, what is the basic cause, how has this particular thing come to this person. Like, I'll give you an example. Recently there was a girl, she had a suppressed menstruation ever since she had COVID in 2021. So it's been like more than 3 years, and she was undergoing all sorts of hormonal therapies. And uh, last month I started a treatment. Within a month, just giving her medication for the suppression of viral, she got her normal menstruation. So these kind of cases give you such a joy and satisfaction that you're able to help people, because these kind of thing you will not find in any conventional medicine. Take a case of, see, even a simple cold sometimes becomes very chronic, and sometimes a very chronic thing is also treated very in a subtle way, even acute form. So deep down knowledge of the disease and the person both help you in taking care of that person. We deal with cancers, we deal with tumors, ovarian cysts, then allergies. Allergies are the main thing, especially in NCR and around, because we have very good anti-allergics which will suppress, which will manage the symptoms, but they do not treat. For the treatment, you will have to come to an alternate system of medicine, and homeopathy is the best for it, because we, uh, make you resistant to whatever the allergen is. We stimulate your internal healing powers by the medicine and not interfering in any of your physiological process inside your system. So that is how it works. Even in cases of cancer, we have cases of cancer, like there was this lady who was in her 80s and she was diagnosed with tongue cancer, but they could not go take her for chemo and all because of her age and the fragility. So she was given homeopathy, and she died 90 plus, and all the time the uh, children used to come and they were worried, doc, something will not happen, she's taking your treatment, but will she be okay? She lived a normal life with the patch on her tongue. She was able to eat, she was able to talk, she was having a normal life, and one fine day, 90 plus, she died of cardiac arrest. So even with that problem, which wasn't, no chemo or anything was done, but she lived a normal life. So this is just a one odd example. Then we have cases of Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's lymphomas, which we treat without chemo, and people, only if you tell that this person has this, you will come to know. Otherwise, you will not come to know that somebody is suffering, because they'll come, they'll pick up their medicine, they are leading a normal life, wherein in other cases, you are in and out of the hospital all the time, managing your blood levels, everything. So basically, without any surgical intervention, without any medicines which are harsh or have side effects or make you weak, or you take your appetite away, take your taste away, we give sweet pills which gently and tenderly take care of you.
As we started, you spoke about overall holistic well-being of a patient. Now, how does allopathy and homeopathy complement each other? Now, बहुत सी ऐसी मिथ्स हैं कि हम बीमार पड़े, हम हॉस्पिटल गए, हमें एंटीबायोटिक मिल गई और हमने स्टार्ट कर ली बिकॉज वी वांट टू गेट दैट रिलीफ, दैट गेट छुटकारा ऑफ दैट पेन. तो जब हम होम्योपैथिक डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं तो वो सबसे पहले पूछते हैं आपने क्या एंटीबायोटिक खाई है. सो कैसे, मतलब हाउ डू यू मैनेज दिस? क्या कॉम्प्लीमेंटिंग होता है? क्या बंद करनी पड़ती है एलोपैथिक, कि आप एलोपैथी के साथ ही होम्योपैथी ले सकते हो? क्या है इसका रियल रीज़न?
I'll tell you. See, कुछ बीमारियां होती हैं जैसे कि हाइपरटेंशन है, डायबिटीज़ है, थायराइड है. People have been taking these medicines when they come to you. We don't ask them to stop all that because those are medicines the body is acclimatized and they have to take them. But there are certain medicine like antibiotics, we ask if they have completed at least 3 days, we can ask them to stop. Otherwise, we always say if you started, please complete it. So that next time when you take, it doesn't have a bad effect or it doesn't work on you. So we make sure that if it's just a start, then we can ask. But if they've already taken for a day or two, we will always ask, please complete at least 3 days. One is that. Secondly, sometimes people come to us when they're already having steroids for some problem like urticaria or some autoimmune disorder. Then we first load that person with a medicine. So like a week, 2 weeks or maybe a month, we just give medicines. We wait for the medicines to take place in the system and then we taper off the medicines. We just don't stop them like that. So there is a way to go hand in hand with both the pathies. Sometimes like some patient is having high fever, we take help of crocin because we know homeopathy will bring it down along with the infection. As the infection goes, the temperature will also go. But if it is going 100 to 102, especially in children, we can't just let it be. So we take care of the help of crocin. So similarly, supposing some tumor or ovarian cyst comes to you which is of a large size. So sometimes 6 centimeters, 7 centimeters also we treat, but sometimes like 8 or plus. It's giving you pressure symptoms, it's creating a lot of trouble and we can see the aggression, it can grow. Then we safely say, please go for surgery, don't go in for any kind of oral medication because medicine can treat but it will take time and we don't have that much of time in some cases. So we have to see what are our limitations. We can't just treat a patient because it has come to you, So sometimes we have to take help of other pathies as well. Similarly, in cases of injuries, traumas, muscle, bone and all, we tell the patient to have medicine along with the physiotherapy. So like a lot of things can go together and help each other and the outcome is much, much, much better and quicker.
So that's a great takeaway, that any kind of medication, one doesn't need to just stop immediately. You have to slowly bring it down if you want to switch to some other treatment. Okay, I have 2 questions here for you. First, क्या होम्योपैथी में भी स्टेरॉइड्स होती हैं? So this is it's a misconception कि होम्योपैथिक डॉक्टर है, कहीं इतनी जल्दी रिलीफ मिल गया तो कहीं आप स्टेरॉइड्स तो नहीं दे रहे?
Exactly.
So what's your take on that?
So I want to tell everyone, and it's a very good question, because steroids are medicines which are part of allopathy. In homeopathy, there are no steroids. So one, we do not use steroids, but yes, if some doctor is using, that's a malpractice. It is not a part of homeopathy. So don't be scared. Most of the doctors do not do that, and we can't, because if steroids were the answer, why would you come to us? You come to us only when all of those don't work. So we do not have any kind of steroids in homeopathy.
Absolutely wonderful. And I think this is a great message from this podcast, because people just, and they're not aware, they will just make statements out in the public without even any, baseless statements. So Dr. Neeru, my second question on the same, take is that somebody who's not had homeopathy since childhood, okay, they've been on allopathy, antibiotic course, and then ultimately again doing the antibiotic, for example, tonsillitis. Okay, now small children, because parents don't have that kind of time and patience, to see their child recover from, so they will keep giving those antibiotics in allopathy. Now, somebody who's not had homeopathy, what do you suggest to them? I'm talking in context to children where parents don't believe in homeopathy.
So, for all the parents, I want to tell there is no relation to of not taking or having homeopathy for the first time. It doesn't make any difference. Number two, it's best for the children. You know, it's the best treatment. Children love to it. It's easy to administer, and unlike antibiotics which do take care, but they just take care, they manage it for that time, you know. But if you want to check the recurrence, then you should go in for homeopathy. And there is no question that they will not be benefited because they are taking for the first time, or you know, whenever you start, the medicines work the same way. They check the recurrence, and we are known to, you know, avoid surgeries, because in most of the cases the children have to undergo adenoid surgeries or tonsil surgeries. We are there to help in them, and we can, I can say 99% we can avoid surgery in these cases.
Okay, and my question, to the same answer that you're giving, how do you tailor homeopathic treatments? Do you do some research on it? I mean, like for example, if we go to a allopathy doctor, and people have a habit of changing doctors often because they don't get that relief. So, without even completing the course, they will just switch to a new doctor. And the same doctor will first see the initial treatments. So, how do you do?
So very good question again. So when the patient comes to us, our main this thing is first to take the history and understand. You know, the basic thing is to make the patient also understand. Not only you are understanding, you have to make the patient understand, educate, and you know, convince him by whatever advice you are giving, whatever explanation. There should be a transparency. The patient should understand what the doctor's aim is and how is the doctor is going to target it. So we have to explain a lot in the first visit. We have to see all the aspects of the patient, how anxious the patient is, then how anxious the parents or the attendant is. So we have to take care of all that, answer whatever they want to know, convince them, and then we have to show them the results. That is how a patient feels that yes, I'm at the right place. So first and second visits are really very important, wherein you know, we have to make sure that there is a transparency and the person is able to understand what is our aim and how do we go about it.
Okay, I'm while you were answering, I was smiling all this while because, for example, let's do a case study. There is a person who's like probably 65 and been changing their treatments often. So when that kind of a patient comes to you and you check the history, तो क्या आपके दिल में ये बात आती है कि ये बार बार तो बदलते रहते हैं, तब इनको कैसे असर होगा? Do you get that thought?
No, we get that thought, but not कि कैसे असर होगा. We have to explain them and we have to convince that, see, even if you feel there is nothing happening, you just stick to it. Whatever query, doubt, you talk to. Don't ask anyone else. Don't ask any other doctor. Whatever you feel, even if you feel it's not working, you talk to me. Because you know, when we probe and when we ask, we are able to show them that yes, this little improvement is there, but that only a doctor's skill can work on it. You know, you have to have that skill to take it out from the patient. So once the patient understands that, he will never go anywhere else.
Okay, you say that homeopathy is 200 years old. Till date, it hasn't come into the mainstream. It comes into the holistic well-being, alternative medicine. So, what are your suggestions and take on that?
There were times when we used to think it should come in the mainstream, but nowadays things have changed. The diseases have changed. The age where those diseases used to happen has changed. The lifestyle, global warming, all of this has so much of effect on us that no one single pathy can work for us. We have to work in collaboration and all the pathies have to come together. So this is the time when there is no mainstream. Whatever is fit for one person is a mainstream for him, or you know. So this is a collaborative period, I would say. We don't have to just manifest the symptoms, we have to see the underlying causes and then work together on it. Because we also have certain limitations, they also have certain limitations. We should understand our limitation, we should not be, shy of telling the world that this is it. If it is a limitation, it is there. So if we are open to it, I think everybody is in the mainstream.
Okay, now there is a very funny thought coming to my mind. Initially when we were very young, so we've been on homeopathy all our lives, and I totally believe into it. I feel it's much, I would say, it's much cheaper also
Of course,
comparatively to
of
all the big
course.
treatments, and it's very effective. So I remember that we used to go to our relatives' home and they had that box of those homeopathic medicines. I think till date many families have it. And we find the dadi or the nani or the mother would be just, okay, some medicines, like Arnica 30, and I don't know, it's like, it's just on my mouth because acha ye ho raha hai, ye le lo.
True.
So you think that's the correct way?
See, there are certain over-the-counter medicines, just like you give Crocin for fever, you give Ondem for vomiting. So there are certain over-the-counter medicines which are, anyone can use them. They are in very low potency, they are harmless. But yes, higher doses, higher potencies, one should not just give like that. For that, always proper consultation is advised. Otherwise, that's okay, because there are certain medicines which are in every household. कोई गिर गया तो आने का दे दिया, फीवर हो गया तो बेलाडोना दे दिया, गले में दर्द है तो काली मिर्च दे. So these are like over the counter medicine and they can be used, no harm.
Okay, and what is the difference between the German medicines and the Indian वो bottle में वो क्या same होता है?
Tera Bharat Maan, Indian medicines are good. They are just collaboration. There's not some factory going on in Germany or anywhere.
Okay.
So Indian medicines are best.
Best.
I can say
Okay.
that.
Okay. So coming to the lifestyle of people, you've seen there's a major shift how what we were initially and now today. So what is your take on that? And curing lifestyle problems and treatments, how is homeopathy effective? Let's say.
Lot of lifestyle diseases are there these days, and I can pinpoint spondylosis, spondylitis. Then primary sterility also. Parents are struggling to have kids. So lifestyle has a major role, whatever the mode of treatment, be it homeopathy, be it any conventional medication. Lifestyle does play a role. People forget to understand that we all have a biological clock which is tickling. We need to understand this is the sleeping time, this is your eating time, this is your resting time, but people want to overdo things. They are in a hurry. So go for any treatment, but if you ignore your body clock or your body, there has to be repercussions. So along with homeopathy, of course, when we give any kind of treatment, we explain the lifestyle, we explain how to go about it. But that goes with everything, I think, in today's. People need to understand if your body is saying something, please listen to it. People try to, ignore it. And when the things become bad, then they run from pillar to post. So it's better, don't just ignore any sign your body gives. I think that is the time you need to change your lifestyle. Understand that this body is made for with certain discipline and certain rules. I'm not saying you sleep at 10 o'clock. You sleep at 12, but then 7 hours of sleep is important. Get up at 7 o'clock. Then don't get up at 9 o'clock. So small things if people follow. The body needs 3 meals. You can have light meal, 1 meal light, 2 meals heavy, but don't skip on meals. So small things we have to educate and make the people understand. Not only the treatment, your lifestyle has an important role to heal you from within.
I'm sure it hasn't been an easy journey for you being a homeopathic doctor. So I want you to share with all our listeners the challenges, because I think more than giving the medicine, it is getting somebody convinced that please stick to this treatment of homeopathy. So tell us about your challenges.
It is actually a challenge every day for a doctor, and especially a homeopathic doctor. When I started and now when I see, there's a lot of change. It's become very popular. People are going into it. A lot and a lot of people are now getting into it. But yes, even today, when somebody comes to you for any kind of treatment, uh, either from word of mouth, either from reading a review, we have to first educate them a lot. We have to put in a lot of hard work to convince him that yes, this is like this, whatever you were having, that medicine was not wrong, or the doctor was not doing anything wrong, but that is it, that is what they have. That is their limit. So now, because after this limit, what are you going to do? The management part, you can manage it every time the disease comes, or you take a treatment and you don't have to manage it all the time. So no, so the convincing, by giving them examples, by showing them certain cases, by showing them some evidences, or just by explaining with pictures. So that is a big challenge, because even if a person is coming from someone who's recommended highly, you have to show results. Not only convincing, education, and then showing them the results. That is what works. The results are very, very important. So initially, what we have to do, even if it's some chronic case, we have to create some vibes, where the patient starts feeling positive, because that is when the patient feels, yes, I have to go for it. So to create that environment is a big challenge all the time, every day when you get a new patient, especially in Gurgaon, a place like Gurgaon is a corporate hub. So people from all over the country coming to you from all over and having all sorts of experiences in the past. So that is, I think it's a big challenge for all the doctors, not only me.
So, are you trying to say that it's difficult to convince people to switch to homeopathy in, the, uh, it's in the bigger cities? It's easier in the two-tier cities, is it?
If it is popular in that city, like cities which have medical college, homeopathic medical college, people know about it.
Okay.
In a city like Gurgaon, and where there are no medical colleges of homeopathy, now there are a lot of doctors. Initially, it was not like that when I had come to Gurgaon 10 years back. But it is not about switching. It is about uh, if you've come to it, you have to stick to it. It is not about switching actually. It is about telling them the benefits of now when you've come to this is it. So it's not basically switching over, because they usually come to you in the mind that yes, this medicine will work better than what we were having. So switching they've already done. We have to, keep them, yes, this is a right decision that you've taken. So that we have to work on.
Okay, and since we are talking about sticking to this kind of treatment, the homeopathy treatment, you're running this podcast show, on Spotify, IVF. So, what is your, message to all those parents who are struggling to have children? Should they try homeopathy for having children, or just the, the normal IVF and the normal treatments with so much of heavy antibiotics? Is that the way? What's your take?
So, see, there are many kinds of sterilities, or, when you are unable to bear a child, there are a lot of reasons. So, we have to look for that. Sometimes, your tests show nothing. So, then the doctor is at a loss what to do. So, in that case, homeopathy works wonders, because we work on the mental aspect and the psychological aspect of the parents. In some cases, there are problems like, the ovulation is not good, the quality of egg is not good. We have very good medications for that also. Then we get males who have sperms issue, if the sperms are not that good quality, the motility, all that is not that good. We have very good medicines for that also. There might be certain things wherein, we can say that yes, this part we can't take care, but in most of the cases we have been able to help them. But all depends on the age of the parent also. Supposingly if they've crossed that age, then we don't want them to spend or waste more time in doing all the treatment, because treatment takes some time, 3 to 6 months at least, for any kind of ailment. So if they're already 39, 40, then we don't advise. Then we go in for some aggressive thing. Or there are some special cases where we see that the hormonal levels are really good even at that age. Then we have to, give them a clear picture. We can't just give them medicine because they've come to us. We have to tell them, and then we have to say, whatever your call is, this is like this. So we are able to help in most of the cases, I would say.
So what advice would you have for someone who wants to, pursue a career and become a homeopathic doctor?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say if you really want to treat someone from inside, want to give a comprehensive care, go for homeopathy. But don't think that homeopathy only is the helping tool. You have to take care of the patient as a whole. So be open for all sorts of tools available. But yes, a holistic treatment, a treatment from within, a treatment where it stimulates your own healing power. That is homeopathy.
So let's do your funny rapid fire round, Doc Sab. If homeopathy had a mascot, what would it be and why?
I think a mascot showing 3 generations with a super smile would work best for homeopathy.
What's your favorite homeopathic joke or pun?
My favorite joke is that a patient comes to you for a dog bite and you ask what was the color of the dog? Was it white or is it brown?
Okay, if you had to treat a fictional character with homeopathy, who would it be and what would you treat them for?
I think Dr. House, if you've seen the House MD series, I would definitely like to give him some medicine to become more social.
If homeopathy were a movie genre, what genre would it be and why?
I think sci fi, because miracles happen in homeopathy only.
Absolutely wonderful. Okay, your last question now on the podcast. What has been your success mantra and what keeps you stress free?
My success mantra is if to bond well with the patient, understand the patient, and be transparent. Do not hide things, tell the actual procedure, bring that confidence in between. That always helps because it's not only the medicine, it's the doctor also.
And what keeps you stress free?
There are stresses sometimes when the patient doesn't respond well, but yes, we have to keep on trying and we have faith in the superpower that yes, it might take time, but it will because homeopathy never fails. A homeopath might.
It has been a wonderful podcast with Dr. Neeru Arora. She is based in Gurgaon but available globally to all the patients. Been treating patients, giving them a new life. Get in touch with her. All her details available on the podcast. And Dr. Saab, आपका बहुत बहुत thanks है कि आप
Thank you
आए.
so much. Thank you all.